what's up, everybody? This is Cam, aka the Honky Tonk Hair Machine for the Rugged Revival. Who am I with today?
Hi, my name is Iris Marlowe, and I like to call myself the devil's favorite country band.
All right. Well, thanks for sitting down with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So, all right, I like to start with this question. It gives us like a bit of a peek behind the curtain of who you are. You can answer in depth or as little as you want. But where are you from, and what was life like for you as a kid?
So, I grew up in a really small town in central Illinois. It's called Lakin, rhymes with bacon. Two stoplight sort of town, middle of nowhere. Casey's gas station was the hot spot, that sort of town. And it was very interesting growing up there because on the one hand, I think it gave me a good imagination because there was nothing to do. But then also, I craved bigger community and the big city. And I knew I was never going to stay there. And I think, someone who's wearing like an onion shirt with pink hair probably doesn't fit in really in that sort of atmosphere. But I made it work. And I think there was some positives, but I'm in Chicago now and it's the best thing that's ever happened in my life was moving here.
Fantastic. I love that. That's really cool. So, are you strictly guitar or are you on banjo as well?
So I play mostly guitar, but then I do some rhythm banjo on some of our tracks. And once in a while, you'll catch me on my auto harp. And I did buy a theremin, but I am absolutely terrible at it. I have no concept of how to use it at this point. So I'm gonna try to bring that into my music at some point too.
Well, I mean, as you know, with your instruments, it all just takes time, and I'm sure you'll get there.
Yeah, it's weird with the theremin though, because there's no distinct sort of way to tell where you're at sometimes. So I need to really figure out how to like to use that.
Yeah, it's cool. So take us back if you don't mind. When did you start playing guitar, and when did you start playing the banjo?
So guitar, I always played piano as a kid. So I learned piano starting at the age of 3, and I hated it. I always knew I wanted to play guitar, and I begged my parents. I was like, please let me play guitar. And they always referenced the one time I tried karate and hated it. So they're like, it's just going to be another karate situation. You're going to chop a piece of wood and never want to do it again. So I think it was around 16 when I started taking lessons. And I think my parents were like, okay, she hasn't shut up about the guitar for 10 plus years. So we might as well let her try. So 16, I started taking lessons. And then banjo, I didn't start playing until I was 28, I believe.
Cool. It's funny you mentioned the guitar thing. Like one of my daughters, the oldest one, she always dabbles in little things here and there, and she wants to get into hockey now, which is great. Totally support it. But
Yes.
like, we also have like, well, you tried this, you tried that, exactly. It's such a parent thing. It's really funny.
Yeah, I think my parents were like trying to get me into sports. I'm relatively tall, so I think my parents were like, she's going to be really good at volleyball or basketball or softball, and I was terrible at every single thing I tried. Cheerleading, I was only good because I was loud, so they would just put me in the back. I sucked at everything when it came to that. So I think my parents were finally like, you know what, we should let her try the art, the art thing, and see where that goes.
Right. You got to find your talents. So when did you start taking your music to the stage? And like, did you start in any other bands or cover bands or anything like that?
So I started taking my music seriously, I think around 2018. I was writing a lot of songs for about 5 years, and I just kind of thought I would never make anything of them. Like, I didn't ever picture myself with a band. And I just always thought I was just going to be a bedroom guitar player, like someone that just makes songs and never performs a day in their life. And then it was 2018 when I met my sound engineer, and he was the first person that really believed in what I was doing, and we've been working ever since. But the first time I performed was 2019 at an open mic, and I had never performed my music in front of anybody before. And it's kind of just been uphill since. And I found a group of people that I love playing music with. And I never thought I'd have a band, but now I have the world's nicest band and greatest people to work with. So I truly feel blessed in a Satan sort of way, not in a God way.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, we have room for all things Western goth around here, so that's
Yeah,
great.
not blessed in the godly way.
So you have, as a performer, you have your hands full, and I've seen some of your clips. You're playing guitar, you're singing, you're putting on a hell of a show. What are some of your biggest challenges that you face when you're trying to bring all that to the stage?
You know, I think it's really important for me in this kind of niche genre that I play to be entertaining is like the first thing. So I'm day to day, I'm kind of a shy, awkward sort of person. So I want to make sure that doesn't really show on stage. That's like my number one thing is I have to like I want to be seen as powerful when I'm on stage. And that to me is more entertaining. And sometimes in the country genre, it's really hard to not stay in one spot on stage. So I wanted to make music that I could run around and like get the audience involved. And with being a more crazy performer running around on stage, I notice I make more mistakes with playing, but my band always picks up where I lack in that department. So any challenges, my band, they're really supportive and have my back. So they're the best.
I think that's true. I remember reading an interview with Doyle from the Misfits, and he said, if you want to hear the record, you've got the record. We put time in the studio. I'm paraphrasing, of course. You
Oh
put time
yeah.
in the studio. You're fleshing it out. You're getting the perfect song. You come see the live show, and you're going to get the raw, the real. I
Yes.
might break some guitar strings. Hell, I might fall off the stage.
I have fallen off the stage before. I have
Yep.
forgotten lyrics. I have broken strings on stage. But to me, I actually think we're better live just because in the studio, I'm very like go, go, go. And
Yeah.
there's not a lot of time for mistakes in the studio with me. So I think seeing us live is just more fun, even though I have fallen off stage. I have fallen on my ass on stage and people thought it was for the show. Like, so the mistakes happen quite often, but they're kind of hidden by my very, very talented bandmates and my spring to action. Sometimes I'll just pretend like, oh, I didn't fall off the stage. You blinked and saw an apparition. That wasn't me.
That's right. And just got back up there and made it
Yeah.
happen. So I think you have a pretty wide range of influences. So if you don't mind sharing, who are some of your biggest like country and folk versus non-country folk and bluegrass influences for everything that makes up who you are?
So for country, I grew up on Johnny Cash like a lot of people. Merle Haggard. I love Marty Robbins, Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, the classics, of course.
Yeah.
But then I also, and when I started writing more country music in my 20s, I really loved Casey Musgraves, Orville Peck, um, just even some of the newer country artists that really caught I mean, Sierra Farrell, of course, Charlie Crockett. So yeah, and my like my non-country musical influences, I think actually impact me more because for a really long time, I didn't want to write country music. I was like, I'm from the country. I don't want to write country music. But then I started realizing that my non-country influences almost inspired me more.
Yeah.
So Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Tom Waits, Lana Del Rey, Stevie Nicks, Twin Temple, which is like probably my all-time favorite band. But those influences, I was like, man, there's something lacking in the country music scene where we could have a little bit more darker subject matter but still have it be linked to country music and the sound that I felt there was kind of lacking. I was like, oh, the goths need something. There's a few gothic country artists for sure, but there can always be a little more.
Well, if you're not familiar with the Fields of the Niflheim, I think that'd be a great band for you to get into. I can send you a
Oh,
link. Yeah, I'll
please
send you a link.
do. Yeah. No, I've never heard of them. I would love to listen to it.
Yeah, I think that'll be a little bit of a mind blowing experience for you. They when I first heard them and I saw these guys with like a Western goth style and bringing like a heavy tone to it all, but still had that like, kind of cowboy tough thing going on.
Yeah.
They bring all the black metal and the goth rock and the country stuff all together. It's I'll send you a link. That'll be
Please
cool.
do. That sounds awesome.
So, Iris, have you done a lot of touring? And if you haven't, where would you like to go?
So I have done some touring. It's mostly in the Midwest and East Coast. I would love to do a Southwest tour. That's like on my agenda, Phoenix, Arizona, like New Mexico. I would love to go all in that area. I would also love to go to Montana, which is strange, but for some reason I feel like it'd be fun to bring our music up to a place that doesn't normally hear it. But I will honestly, I will go anywhere.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty awesome. Hit those markets that don't normally, like when I was touring a lot in a punk band, everybody goes to the big cities,
Yeah,
So we want to go to the small spots where people aren't going. Kids are bored. So we would go
right.
play, in Berryville, Virginia and fill a gymnasium with people because they're like, let's go see the punk band. There's nothing else going on.
Honestly, I'm from a town that had nothing to do, and when we would have somewhat big artists come down in that area, it was like the coolest thing ever. So I would love to do that as well. We went to Struthers Theater, which is in Warren, Pennsylvania, which is like a super small town, but the
Mhm.
whole town showed up to see us, and it was just that
That's
sort
awesome.
of vibe is exactly what I love because it is kind of going to an area where it's not that they're forgotten, but they're not really as reached out to by musicians or art or things like that. So it was I would love to do more shows like that too. Bring me back to Peoria, Illinois.
Right. Yep. I get that for sure. So, of course, when I'm listening, being in the fashion industry my whole adult life, the first
Which your
thing that I
outfits are awesome, by the way. I'm always like on
thank
TikTok.
you.
I'm like, that's a great outfit. That's a great outfit.
Which is high praise coming from you because I was going to say that's the first thing I see is somebody's look. I mean, as shallow as that is, the first thing I see is that. But I love my guys that dress it down too.
Oh
My
yeah.
my flannels, my work boots. But when I see something a little flashy, I can't help it because of just what I do for a living. So tell me, what are some of your favorite go-to on-stage outfits?
So I do love a classic Western button-up pearl snap with the fringe, kind of like what I'm wearing right now.
Hmm.
But what I'll do with, like, the top is I do a lot of hand embroidery, so, like, this one, I put onions on it, just
Yeah.
screamed onions to me, but a lot of the times I'll bring, like, a classic vintage Western shirt and pair it with a non-conventional pant, skirt, shorts, fishnets, big, like, gothic platform boots, sometimes cowboy boots. I like to mix kind of the traditional Western look with a little bit of edge because I think that fits our music pretty perfectly, and I think it also makes people feel less concerned to hear something like our music, or like they're less weary if they see kind of like a somewhat traditional presentation with some of the Western wear. But then they hear the music and they're like, "Oh my god, this is this is not traditional." I think it helps
Sense.
bring people together with the clothing, and
Yep.
I really like making eccentric Western wear because I feel like there's a little bit of that lacking. Like there's a lot of florals, horseshoes, beautiful designs, but I wanted something a little bit different. So I learned chain stitch mostly to make my own stage clothes.
Which has all looked really incredible. I mean, the shirt you have on now is awesome, and you've done a lot. Like I've been following this journey, and there's some really cool stuff that you've put together.
Yeah, I took it up a little over a year ago. So it's been a lot of learning, and I'm always really touched and blown away by people and their support with the clothes because I honestly posted it just because I thought it was fun. And the reception has been really, really, really unexpected and kind and just really inspiring. It makes me want to make more. I have a whole stack in my corner over here, just like staring at me, waiting to be made. So
That's
it's
so
been a
cool.
really cool journey.
Are you also applying the fringe yourself? Are you doing that too?
Sometimes, yes, this one came with fringe, but I would say most of the shirts I have that have fringe, I have added myself. This one just happened to come with it, which was nice because that's the one thing I don't like is adding fringe. It's kind of annoying to deal with.
Yeah, that looks like that could be quite, and you have to like work with the contour of your body a little bit too.
Yes, and sometimes I think I'll try to hide it with piping, like the seam lines and things,
Um,
and that's also frustrating because the fringe like sneaks out, so that sometimes I have to redo it 2 or 3 times, and so
yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, I really like it when a fringe is already on the shirt," which is not super common with the ones I find, unfortunately.
I'm sure you're familiar with India Raimi. Yeah, I
Love
think.
love
Yeah,
her.
yeah. Your style reminds me a little bit of that, and I believe she makes a lot of her own stuff too, if I'm not
She
mistaken.
Yes, we talk back and forth about embroidery sometimes, and she's come up to Chicago quite a few times in the last couple of years, and I always go to her shows. I think she is so amazing, talented, a great songwriter. I find that I have a lot of her songs stuck in my head on a loop.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. Um, well, you know what? Like I said, we keep it short and sweet, and this kind of brings us to the end of the road. Is there
Amazing.
anything? Yeah, is there anything you would like to promote? Show, album, new shirts?
Yeah, so our album Dead by Dawn, which is a spaghetti western gothic grunge country record inspired by the Evil Dead movies, is
Right.
out now. We're working on 2 singles that are going to be released this year. Don't have dates on those yet. We're going to be working on our next album next year, but I'm also opening my Etsy store for Western wear embroidery, and that's called Made by Marlowe on Etsy.
There it
So
is. Yeah.
that's what's happening over here.
You know what? I was like gushing, expecting for you to do that. That's so great. I'm so stoked you're doing that.
Thank you. I honestly I didn't think people would really care, but then there was a lot of messages and DMs and people insisting I sell it. So I was like, it honestly just started as a hobby, but if I can make people happy with my art, that's the best joy in life. So whether that's music, embroidery, my weird clown paintings I also do, which you can't see any of them here, but
Well, Iris, hang on the line with me for just a minute longer, but I'm going to hang up. I'm going to let you go. And thank you so much for sitting down with me.
thank you for having me.